Council who guided us, and they actually are the ones who made the recommendation for us to switch spaces, because they had gone into the multiplicity of detail of the gamma irradiation facility. And then to answer Christabel's question, we do not work in isolation, so the government body, we are an agency, right? But the government body, which is MAIF and then Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Trade, did consult with the private sector. And at the time when the consultations happened, we hadn't had Hortifresh yet. It's at the time we had the Uvepa, Ufbear, and all those other, Ufea. Yes, that's the time we had all those in place. So just to allay your fears again, we are in consultation with, all the stakeholders, so we avoid having the white elephants and all. No, don't worry about white elephants. We are really consulting widely. And I'm glad that Grace mentioned the Atomic Energy Council. We were very intentional on having them aboard. We met them, we had, all these consultations, and we had reports from them, to say this is not going to work here, and it would be able to work, here and there or elsewhere. So I thank you very much once again. If there's any other question, I'll be happy to speak to you later.
Yeah, good hand. She's the one presenter that people didn't want to leave the stage. So thank you very much. And thanks for your able representation of Free Zones Authority. The last bit I remember about this area which has caused interest. The gentleman who was here, Mohamed Huda, was part of the process. We had a directive about this, basically through the highest levels in the government. And there were issues of resources, there were issues of what you are talking about. And I think, as she's saying, it's work in progress. I don't think it is something that's going to happen tomorrow. As she said, I think she said, if I heard her well, that's why we bought even land somewhere else. So part of accommodating that modern technology with its complexities and the options also that exporters have, are they the methyl, bromides or stuff like that and others, is something that is not going to happen without the scrutiny that I'm sure those people are questioning are talking about. And the last time I was engaged in this discussion, those things were being raised, and I think they will get the attention that they deserve, as she has said. So thank you for your able representation. Now we have a bit of time. As we said, we're expecting the minister maybe to come at 3. Lunch maybe coming in at 2. Bess, is that still correct? Let's go at 2. So one of the things that I can see that is valuable is getting the best out of everybody who is here, whether it is DAS or Feed for the Future, development partners, to comment to either the technical issues we are talking about, but also comment to the even collaboration aspects. You remember Mwambu was there and saying, people are reporting to him and says, but you seem to be running around with hot fresh. What do you people want to do? We were here, we were doing either well or better or scratching as either, what were they, who are my famous exporters? What were the other organizations that For texture, there's another one, HPOU. So people were saying, for us, we were saying, you know, let's move afresh through those consultations and make sure that we have the synergies. Now the membership of Hot Fresh is 120, okay? And you heard the commissioner saying, why don't we become careful about who exports? Not people carrying and coming through the system and the next day they disappear. So those controls that everybody has been talking about become a critical part of this process of getting together, having a critical mass that will attract, like the partners we have today, yourselves as exporters, from infrastructure, from public sector, others, to be able to make sure that the sector is streamlined, that there is a process, that when you meet, as somebody said, you meet the president, you know, you are communicating in a manner that is representing the sector and understands the issues and the options available. So at this juncture, can we allow, I was thinking of having maybe the chairperson and maybe a development partner. Christabel, you paid for these things. Maybe you could sit in front here with the chairperson, and Fred will identify me somebody. Fred is the chief executive. And then we pick contributions, ideas from you in terms of what you see from your perspective. What you see, what direction should we take, and preferably not critiquing the other people, especially those who may not be here, but basically being able to say, this is the way I see it, this has been my experience, this could be the best way forward. I beg to leave it at that and expect some reactions from you, unless you don't like democratic processes. So the floor is open. Chairperson, you sit near here. Christabel, clap for her. She sponsored much of this. Feed the future, institutional and systems strengthening of the ICT. Who else would want to sit at a high table? Most people want to be in leadership. Serious exporter. Let one of you come, either Honorable Aston or, after all, we have had, we are gender represented. So at least when you talk, there is somebody to look at. There is a chairperson of this whole process. There is a champion in export, you have already had her. There is a development partner as part of this process. So feel free to make contributions, not necessarily communicating to them. Now, can I make a radical, maybe, step forward? Sir, you could introduce yourself at least. I know some of you came late.
Good afternoon, members. I am Captain Dr. Kenneth Kavuza from Operation Wealth Creation. I'm also the liaison officer for Operation Wealth Creation in the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives.
Good afternoon, everyone. Protocol observed. I'm called Corporal Bashabe Rogers, a staff assistant in the Directorate of Fruits and Horticulture, or WC. Thank you.
So you saw we're missing out about people who are here with us, and it's good to know that we have them. Gentlemen, you hadn't introduced yourself. I'm waiting for people who may want to provide
Thank you, sir. My name is Conley Olusanya. I come from Germany, and I'm representing Big Grow. I mean, how to boost your farm. Thank you, Mr. Fred, who was the one who invited me here. As I said, I don't live here, I live in Germany, and that's my partner living here. So we are bringing Big Grow to Uganda, how to increase your product. I mean, during the dry season, we have something upstairs to show to the people, to show to the farmers. The rest I will discuss with Mr. Fred. I came with United Nations, UNIDO, in October. Now we're going back in December. So I'm so happy to be here in this meeting, but I did not hear anything about import, only export. But I still have questions concerning export. But there are many things that from Germany that they want to give assistance, how things can get better here. And that is one of the reasons why I'm here. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe Kabi, you may want to say something, introduce yourself in full. Most people don't know what Kabi means.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody who has presented. I have really enjoyed the honest feedback on that. Some of you have seen me doing typing all the time. I was really capturing the notes, and this is very useful. My name is Christine Alokit. I work for CABI, Center for Agriculture and Biosciences International, which is an international organization with 49 member countries. Uganda is part of the member countries, and we provide scientific expertise and information in agriculture and environment. So that is basically our focus. We are a lot on plant health. We are also a lot on SPS issues. We have lots of, we call them the SPS gurus within CABI. So we are implementing SPS projects. We had one in Ghana, which was highly driven by the private sector after a ban, and now they were able to start exporting again. We've also doing SPS issues in Pakistan. So we are all over doing SPS issues. But we are also doing other things. We are currently in Uganda. We are supporting the government, the National Agriculture Research Organization. Those of you who are doing popo, I think you've seen the papaya meal bag all over. And so we are working with NARO to see how we can get some parasitoids to support us in really managing that. I think Dr. Nanchinga is not here, but she's leading on the government side, and we hope next year we'll have our first strides to see how this will be chewed up, and we hope we make very good strides on that. But we are also been implementing plant clinics, supporting the government, which I'm happy to say the government has taken up. We still do some support, but a lot of the support on the plant clinics is from the government and the local district governments. And I must say this has been a very good pivotal part for surveillance of pests and diseases. And from the presentations, I'm saying how can we actually make it even much more, because these are run by plant doctors or extension staff in various districts, and they can really form part of supporting farmers on these key pests and diseases if we can strengthen the working relationships on that. And just from the presentations, I had one question after listening to all this, which was very good. We are working on a proposal which is to be supported by the EU. We were managers of the recently concluded project supported by STDF on improving quality of export to EU and the regional markets, which ended in August. And so we are developing a proposal that I'm really very keen. My ears have been very deep to really pick what I can, because there's a lot of input into that. And we are hoping probably sometime in early January or so, we'll convene a meeting with all of us to actually look up into what we have drafted so far, so that we can really tear it apart and say, put this here, remove this, and we make it better, because there are a lot of good lessons and there are a lot of improvements also that we need to make in various sectors, and that is with all of us. So at some point, we'll actually call you for that meeting, and please, we hope you'll be available for that. And I would just like to say one comment, I think a question. I don't know who has an answer, but in my previous work, there was an urge to support wholesale markets for fresh fruits and vegetables. And no, like you said, we talked about export, and I said, okay, where did this die out actually? Hot Fresh, can we actually revamp that? I did some work in my former organizations in Rwanda and Uganda to see if Uganda can streamline local markets for fresh fruits and vegetable supply. I am not saying they are not there, but we need to bring some order into that. And you know that this is where the biggest supply for export would actually come. So if we are talking about farmers scattered in the different levels, and we are saying these ones taking to Nakasero or Kalere market, we forget about them, I think we are shooting ourselves. And above all, we need good health as well. So we all need safe food. So can we really think around and say, can we do something about this? You know, when she talked about the land, and I'm saying, okay, can that actually be part of the land for these wholesale markets? I know I was really the champion of this when I was working way back at Klimo Trust, but did not go. I know Rwanda took it much more, but it's something that we could actually think about.
SMART24, driving business.
Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasand Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasand Hotels, luxury redefined.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic Family. Be a leader. Be magic.
kinayu kinyumira. Whether it is Katogo, Chikomando, Rolex Majasa to Nyanya Mbisi. Man, wherever I am, I enjoy Chinayu with your TV channels on my phone.
Nyumiro omulembo omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kw'otadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya TV channels ku simu yo olwo onyumirwa ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kozesa data.
Yo TV channels.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
SMART24, driving business.
Also sponsored by us. So the things I was talking about earlier are actually sponsored. Many opportunities come and they don't come to us. That's why we're reaching out to HortiFresh and everybody else and saying, we don't want this to be the normal Ugandan project which comes and people don't know about it. We've gone all over the country, so we have entrepreneurs from all over Uganda, from every district. We've been up to down Kisoro, basically empowering them with this knowledge to know that the project exists. We don't want it to be like the others. I like to be one of those sober Ugandans who doesn't like everything else that hasn't worked. So we'll be working with those SMEs for standards, quality management, and market development. And all the costs apparently are on the project. It's a multi-billion project, and young as I am, I was trusted to lead it. So far we are doing well. It is 2 years with the possibility of an extension, and we're also bringing another one for ladies. It will be strictly for women entrepreneurs. If there's anything else I need to clarify, then I'm also available. I intend not to stay up to 6, but I'll be available for any questions. I don't want to eat into your time, but we are relevant to your sector. You are relevant to the project. The opportunity to benefit has been there. We closed, but for those who applied, there will be our testimonies or success stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You turned out not to be camera shy, as you had threatened. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you get a real feel why we are here. Some people came from institutional capacity building and systems. Others are talking about basically farmer capacity training and what have you. Of course, the policy is obvious, it has been talked about, but we have also heard about pesticides like the Kabi space and others, safe use of chemicals and residues and what have you. We have also listened in to infrastructure issues, free zones, and talked about warehouses and freights and cargo and what have you. Although somebody was saying that we are talking alone, but are we really alone? We are quite really a broad-based system of actors. Because even where somebody may appear to be missing, he has told you the people he's working with. UNBS, Export Promotion Board, and what have you. Even if you thought that there is no commissioner of trade, you have a captain, a doctor captain from Wealth Creation based at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. So I think we are all here. So let's continue the discussion and the sharing so that you borrow. You saw he talked about enterprises competitive enterprises. Enterprises maybe beyond the private farmer that know how to use technology. And I think Fulmera is still here, the company whose name I don't announce well. So digitalization, you might have to talk next. You know, competitiveness. How best are you recruiting or using labor? How best are you using technology? How best are you borrowing and spending money, making sure that you are keeping your records right, compliance with URA, so that you are not closed off or audited. There are these digital platforms coming up. So it's quite a wide value chain, as was mentioned. Before I hand over to Fred Zake, there is another burning point here. And then we don't forget the question that she raised.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ronald Katongole, and I'm the MD for Vita Impex Limited. I've heard, ever since I sat here, heard of people saying that they are going to support 50 companies that are going to be able to export, or those companies are going to have maybe export qualities to take their goods to overseas. How about, why do you leave, if ECOS is available, other key players are available, are you trying to undermine their intentions to support small and medium enterprises? Why don't you see it with such companies like ECOS are the key players, so that those also who are not able to get those standards can also be able to export? I believe it's not, I heard someone saying, why don't you select or choose 50 companies, give them proper facilities, transport facilities? I mean, those companies are able enough to export, and you're giving them transport facilities. How about the young companies? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I go to the front table? I saw chairperson clapping to that point. I think it might be the right time to give comments on these reactions we have had. You may not want to forget the other one.
Thank you, Ronald. I'm also a big advocate for being as inclusive as possible. I think Uganda still has a long way to go to actually sit at the table and participate. And we can only do that by enabling different exporters, both large and small. I think one initiative that everyone defaults to is talking about the top 50 or top 100 list. But I think the best approach is to have a balance. Have your top 50, use them as a benchmark, but also continue to provide an enabling environment that is not restricted. And that's why I encouraged the Free Zone Authority representative to actually have a session with us. I think there's a lot of information that our members are not privy to, but also when we come together in sessions like this, we can work out a strategy that allows the small players to participate. Everyone who was small, who's big right now was small at one point. Some businesses are fortunate enough to grow very fast, but some don't have, especially the financial capacity to grow. Some of the most brilliant ideas are killed within the first 3 years of a business, purely because of being excluded. So I think some of the things that we are trying to look at as HortiFresh is to balance out that equation. Advocate for support for the bigger companies, but also make sure that there is attention and support for the smaller companies. So we are, I think, on the same page. I think what we need to do more is to have sessions that bring information,
pick feedback with regard to what are the things that our members are struggling with, and see how we can support you better.
Let me also add something in line with what he talked about, and also in line with what the chairperson said. As the Feed the Future activity, we are partnering with the Uganda Investment Authority. I think UIA is not here today, but we are partnering with the Uganda Investment Authority on profiling small and medium enterprises and see how they can introduce them to the different investment opportunities that they have. And that the target is not with the top 100, but with the smaller ones. How can they get to know them? So the issue is the information gap. They don't know them, and they're not able to extend their service. So they have a whole lot of services around business development. How can they help you with the record keeping, with access to credit? Those are some of the things that they are looking at. So we are also working with the UIA, with the Uganda Investment Authority, to put up an SME portal. And maybe we shall also be inviting you to launch it, so that, you know, they are able to say, this is, if you need any small and medium enterprise in Uganda, this is where to find it, under the different Apex associations. So I think the issue mostly goes around information. Government does not have enough information. And as an activity that is in institutional strengthening, we're also trying to work with government on how can we support all these different innovations around access to information. We are rolling out the National Agricultural Food Statistics System, and also the system that Commissioner Mwambu talked about, the Agro-Input Traceability System, is also one of those that we are supporting to roll out. So we are really looking at how can government get more information to be able to support in decision making. And we're also closely partnering with NITAU, the National Information Technology, so that, you know, we are able to get as much information as we can and provide information. The other thing that I would like to mention around the markets that Tina was talking about from Kabi, the wholesale markets, you know, those fresh fruits wholesale markets, maybe she also speak to them. But for us as within the donor community, it's always difficult to get into such very large, heavy infrastructure developments. However, we can support the lobbying agenda, the advocacy and lobbying agenda, such that the little funds that we bring on the table are able to leverage the big infrastructure or the heavy investments that government can bring on. So when there's that advocacy agenda for us as an activity, we can stand with you to push that and say, this is maybe what we need to see, and this is how we would want to run it. Or even we can support you with some pilot. We can do some pilot with you, you know, at a small scale to demonstrate that this thing can work, and then be able to attract government to come in with heavy investment. And that we can do through our grants program, because we have a small grants program that can help associations, Apex body associations, to pilot innovations that can finally be scaled by government or heavy investors. Thank you.
Maybe I can mention on the market, wholesale market. We had a meeting with Kampala State Council and to establish collaboration, how we can support them to improve dedicated spaces for perishables. And they told us that they want to set up a wholesale market at Busega. So we're in discussions, but it needs infrastructure. I mean, they have space and that kind of thing, but it's a big ticket. We're telling them we have agronomists. Let me tell you something now that I'm standing up. When HortiFresh, we visited some farmers in Mukono. Tomatoes. We found the tomatoes recently sprayed with the pesticides. The farmers told us that the people in the market insist they only receive what has just recently been sprayed. As HortiFresh, we want to go out in the field. We don't want to sit at Serena. That is the exercise we did. We went out, we found farmers farm staff, they are staying in the same room with the rocket. That thing is so poisonous. It's not meant for fruits and vegetables. They're using it because they're not making money. You've heard people here saying they're not making money in fresh fruits and vegetables. The market, there's too much competition. Some of them cut corners and use the rocket. Rocket is banned. It's not for, but they're using and they're sleeping with it. And they're not having gumboots and gloves and all that. So anyway, these are some of the findings we find. So we went to KCCA. We said, these markets are yours. We need to train the market vendors. Consumer awareness needs to be done. The media is here. The work that Hortifresh needs to do is a lot, and we need support. You are watching football. For a football team to win, you need to invest in the players. You need to invest in the field, the football. You need to invest in the referee, the coach. There's a whole ecosystem, stadium. So Hortifresh is bringing together the stakeholders, but this discipline, some of these things, we can go to KCC and train the people. They said, come, but it needs resources. We've gone to the farmers, up country, sampling their problems. The government inspectors are few. Dr. Samra will tell you, they cannot cover the whole country. So we need self-regulation, we need training. KCCA said, Hortifresh, can you handle the wholesale market in Busega? For us to do that, we need our development partners. ECOS you've heard. You are doing a couple of things. The wholesale market is available. Let's go to KCCA. We met the ED. She brought her top team and said, Hortifresh, okay, can you handle? It needs money. We can't go to government. Government has its own issues. So we need this collaboration. Our small scale players, they need help. Everyone can export, but can we take them through a process where we support them and they can sell to off-takers, they can organize themselves and they sell. As Hortifresh, we can also set up pack houses. Not every exporter must have a pack house. Not every exporter can afford an agronomist. We can have some shared services. You heard the Agricado mention here. She's exporting, she cannot, as a company, she can't put too much money. So there are some common user services that you can provide with support from government partners, and we do it. Training. There's training that is done by government, but there's also need for training on these issues like rocket. There's running agriculture as a business. How can you make profit in a business? And we call people like our chairperson, Dr. Gategi, and they train the farmers. So there's so much work that needs to be done, and we hope that by coming together we can support. So, Kabi, you are designing an EU project for next year, whatever. KCCA is willing to work with us on the market. And we don't want to compete with our members. If one of the members wants to run that market, they can run. But we feel collectively as an association, we can really help in this regard. So there's need for investment. Other countries are doing it. Rwanda, you've said, they are doing it. We also want a cargo plane. The UK has said they are open. Europe is open. But our perishables to Europe, they first fly through Kenya, then they go, or Addis, which are our competitors. Already they did not start in Entebbe. They started in Mubende, they started in Maokota. There's no cold chain. By the time they arrive at the airport, they are not in cold storage vans. Then they now go to Kenya. Let Uganda Airlines be able to fly direct to London. Then they offload China. Yeah.
Christine, if you don't mind, I have a question for you. I'm a firm believer in leveraging on our natural advantages as a country. You were speaking about the work that you're doing with regard to plant health. I wanted to find out whether, as part of the research or part of the work that you support the NARO team with, is there anyone looking out for protection of indigenous species whether it's fruits or nuts. There's so much that we have that exists naturally in the country. And I'll use avocados as an example. Our business is looking at producing oil from the local varieties, because when we did our research, we found that we did have a number that have a higher oil content compared to the imported varieties. And my concern is around, is anybody looking at protecting what exists naturally for the country? And hopefully we can also run some programs where we advocate for export of produce that exists naturally for us as an enabler for improving the income at a household level for communities where some of these crops exist.
Complementary to what Caroline has said. Thank you, Fred. Before I ask another question. Complementary to what Caroline has said, the Africa region is looking at bringing up what you would call crops that are neglected. And in the country, colleagues, brothers and sisters, daughters and sons, we have such crops. I come from a sub-region that has beans that is only peculiar to that place. I come from Lango sub-region. We have what is called tapra bean. You don't find it anywhere in Uganda other than Lango sub-region. It is a very drought-tolerant crop. We've had famines and people dying out of famine in Karamoja. If this was, shared, we wouldn't have gone that far to lose the population to famine. We also have the Lango beans, which more or less measures close to pinto beans. Pinto beans are high in export value. If this could be analyzed and the content, is shared, that's a crop, that's a commodity that can feed Ugandans in the drier region, feed northern Kenya, which is dry, feed Somalia, Djibouti, the Sahel region. How much can we earn from such? But coming back to horticulture, to what extent have we even thought of having horticultural crops in the pipeline that will, stand the test of time in terms of climate resilience? Our country is capable of producing very excellent watermelon. But all we know is that watermelon accumulates lots of sugars in drier places. You grow them where there's a lot of rain, the size is okay, but the sugar is not there. So let's position ourselves and prepare the country such that when those crops I'm seeing there as pictures are phasing out, we have replacement crops. So all in all, what I'm saying, an Operation Wealth Creation, can we take this up? Work with the government initiative and what is this model? Parish development model. I know there are crops that there are commodities that have been carved out there. But let's also try and push other crops so that our farmers take it up. Unless we prepare the country like that, we'll reach somewhere and get lost. We'll have even nothing to export. Because eventually these crops will get phased out. These are crops that require lots of banana, maize. Believe me, if we are there, in the next 30 years, you may not see maize. But finger millet might still be there. Sorghum might still be there. Pearl millet might still be there. The tapra beans I've mentioned might still be there. And these are crops that Uganda can hang on to as export crops. So I think let's position the countries. And Dr. Ngategeze, as elders of this country, we really need to come up front and guide the young people. I'm retired, you are retired, but the knowledge does not retire unless we are buried deep down. Let's guide this country appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would respond the level that I can. As Kabi, I said Uganda is a member country, and we basically work with the national governments and research. We work with the universities. So we have not directly done the conservation of such varieties. I think Naro is not here. I know Naro has a gene bank. I don't know how good it is and how much is being kept there, but I know there are varieties, breeds that are kept by Naro as a research organization. But that brings in the issue of science in SPS, because we are not just talking about export, but we need to bring the research institutions to continuously do research. Can Hot Fresh say these are our research priorities for now? Beyond looking at the markets, but looking at the issues that she's raising, the issues that Caroline is raising, and say what is the next way forward, because that should be part and parcel of the Apex organization to front the research priorities that are beneficial to the members. I would just like to add that as Kabi also, we are planning to work with agro dealers. I think we've gone a long way. We had a study last year on issues of low-risk pesticides. We just talked about the rockets and all that people are using. And in a study that we did last year together with the ministry, we found that the knowledge on these low-risk pesticides is very, very low. But also the product owners, I was very interested at what he was doing. They say they don't give their products to agro dealers because they don't know how to handle them. And so we are planning to work with the ministry, Makerere, and UNADA to see how we can add in a module on low-risk pesticides to the current training curriculum for agro dealers, so that it's part and parcel of it, but then to go ahead and popularize this and work with the product owners to see how we can support them to develop the local products and have them registered, and also have the demand, increase the demand on the other side, so that farmers can actually be able to access these low-risk biocontrol materials that could be available. So we welcome your ideas into this, because this is something that is still work in progress, and we hope we can build onto this. Thank you.
I think one of the messages that to me I'm picking, you can see the amount of coordination that is needed. If you look at development partners alone, there are not quite few here. You agree? Okay, they are doing many things, they are partnering with others and all that. The appeal we have from Hot Fresh is that we need that institutional capacity to be able to really coordinate and manage the entire value chains without running all over the place. We agree? Because you can do many things. Number two, I can see like two other things that I wasn't used to, although I am an associate, because you have said even research priorities should come on the agenda. We have been saying let's coordinate and do things and export. They have said there are things to import, but then we're also saying there are things for research. And of course, the wholesale markets is something that I was aware of, and I think ABI, Agribusiness Development, has some support in Namanve that I don't know how much, how big or how small it is, but I think Fred Zake's contribution on discussions with KCCA makes a good point. And I know government has been talking about leadership in markets and stuff like that. We may want to widen that agenda. So let's have, lunch is in the next 10 minutes, if you trust my timing. So let me use 5 minutes with the gentleman here that also brings value into the horticulture sector, Mr. Naika Enoch Julius from Nela. Don't go to 5 minutes. Make it 4.5. You have the floor, quickly. Then we'll prepare for lunch. If you have one burning question, I will attend to it, especially from the front desk. And then after lunch, we will be getting into a different momentum of our senior leaders, and then recognition of some people over the year of activity. And some have a few things displayed on top of here, and then we wrap up our day.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Naika Julius. I'm the CEO at Famnera. Famnera is, those that haven't been able to know who we are earlier, we are a digital marketplace that's backed by blockchain. And what we do basically is we are providing food exporters with a platform which is digital that they can be able to easily use and push for global business. The other thing is that earlier on in 2016 to 2021, we launched as a platform. We've been operating as a platform for those 6 years that farmers can easily source for quality inputs, and we do delivery within 24 hours. 2022, we launched the platform and opened it to the exporters that are willing to do and also attract global business. And what we're doing on top of the marketplace, we are making sure we can be able to have digital traceability incorporated such that at the end of the day, it's a fully fledged platform that it's a one-stop center for you to do all export business. So the problem we realized in the ecosystem was that over 30% of inputs exist on our market here in Uganda. And as a result, our country was losing over 1.5 billion in value of trade. So what we opted to do for you 2022, after doing business with the farmers for over 6 years from 2016 to 2021, we realized that you also, on top of you wanting the market, and some of you guys already have the market, but there was a big gap in how you can easily trace what was applied by the farmer and also getting both food and documentation traceability. So our solution that 2022 that we incorporated was to make sure on top of the food marketplace for you, you are now able to as well do traceability of both food and documentation. In short, earlier we started as the Amazon for farm inputs, and now we're now the Amazon for both inputs and also exports of food. But on top of it, you're also accessing digital traceability or are able to conduct digital traceability. So this is how it works and how it looks. This is the blueprint of our system. We have stages from stage 1 up to stage 6. Primary production happens at stage 1. Here, we opted to trade off the business that we were doing earlier directly for inputs down to the FPOs, which FPOs are able to use our platform to sell their inputs that we recommend them to stock. And so all the transactions that happen there, all the data is captured right from stage 1. They use our platform, they punch in all the information, which farmer they have sold what, when, and what quantity. So there was an issue of Mr. Kajeti saying that there is a gap in knowing or getting the supply. We've happened to move into different markets in Europe and Middle East. Almost every month we happen to get into platforms where we are invited to share around this. And you realize that their biggest problem, they give us what they need in terms of quantities, meaning the market is there, like he said. But at the end of the day, when you get back, the people that receive the business cannot fully sustain the consignments. So what we opted to do that, on the day when a farmer buys a seed or any product from an FPO that we've franchised as Famnera's franchisee inputs dealer, you realize that it's the day we start getting to know when this product will be ready for offtake. And so with our AI incorporated, artificial intelligence incorporated, you realize that if you buy a seed of, let me say, onions today, And this data is captured in our system, which is punched in by an FPO, who is our franchisee inputs dealer down on ground. We can easily get to know that within 3.5 months, this person will need the market for their onions. That means we are able to solve your problem, who needs consistent supply, to easily predict what we can have for you as an exporter. So also with that, you are able to trace everything up to your market, who is your customer in the international market. And you realize the QR code scanning is available for you to trace everything, how the journey has happened per consignment. And also links are also able to be shared around. So among the strategic partners we are working with, if you look at the market side of our platform, we are partnering with Fruit Logistica. It's one of the Madame Haji shared around. And we are marketing there to bring on and attract the global business on Famnera and be able to give it to you who are trading on the marketplace. And also Gulf Food. With developmental partners, we have been able to work with USAID under strategic investment activity, and actually it's ongoing, and that's where we have Hot Fresh as also part of the people that members we are training. And also just remind you on 15th, we are having a workshop for you, and you are open to come in and at DMK House and be able to learn more about how you are able to use our platform to do traceability, and it's free of charge for you for now. And we have Exim Finance. With digital traceability, you are able to unlock capital. We are able to help you unlock financing for trade. So you are sure that with us, you're going to be able to have financing in-house, you're going to have digital traceability, you're going to have export market linkages, and you're going to have input sourcing that is genuine, that ready to produce export quality produce in-house at Famnera. And finally, this is a banner for you. We are welcoming you on 15th to be able to learn more about what we can do for you and be able to grow your business as an exporter. And yeah, we sit at the Innovation Village. If any of you wants to engage with us, Innovation Village Itinda Complex here, if any of you wants to engage with us before even the workshop, come in, we set up your digital store on our live marketplace, so you own one, such that your global buyers can easily be able to find your products online, yeah, 24 hours. And then it's free of charge. And then later on, when you come for the workshop on 15th, we shall get you through how to use the digital traceability step by step. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have an MOU with Famnera. We are doing the training together on 15th for our members of HortiFresh. I think digital technology, traceability, these are things we need to embrace. People are shopping online. People are checking for traceability online. So, Doctor has told us that lunch will be ready in a few minutes, but I wanted us to just go through the remaining steps for today so that we can all plan our time very well. As we go up, several of our members have exhibited some items. So we take a few minutes to see as we go towards lunch. Lunch is in the same place, the main restaurant. So we take a stretch. They'll give us a coupon as we are going out. We take a stretch, have lunch. We're going to use 1 hour so that we come back. When we come back, there are 2 packaging companies that are here. We talked about packaging for Rwanda is made in Uganda, but it's different from what we buy here. We saw some packaging in the pictures. From other countries. Can they make it here in Uganda? So the packaging companies, when we resume, will make some remarks, and I hope they brought some samples which we can see. We hope that by that time the Honorable Minister and the commissioners would have come so that we go through that process of the high-level speeches and presentations, and then we have a networking coffee, and then we can leave at leisure. In between, for the media, you want to ask so many questions, so feel free to interact with some of the presenters that you've seen during lunchtime. Yes. So the packaging companies, immediately when we come back, we give you like 10, 15 minutes each to tell us what you are doing, show us some samples. As we go out, we will look at what is being exhibited upstairs and also let us network during lunch. So with that, I think we can adjourn this session, and we want to thank our panelists, our VIPs. We are hoping that the VIPs also turn up. There are so many events happening. When the president is coming to your station, you can't be here in an event. So we've been talking our different stakeholders, but we hope that the minister comes at 3 or his representative, then we can do that session. Thank you so much for your patience and for your time with us. Let us use lunch to network and also let us stretch our legs. Thank you so much. We come back inside here at 3. Thank you.
Basically, fresh fruits and vegetables within the country and out of the region. This particular discussion is still continuing. The conversations regarding this one at the Career Country Club still do continue, and we are definitely giving you all that matters as it is actually coming in here in real time. Well, basically, if I'm to give you just a preamble of those who are actually leading into most of the traders who are dealing in fresh fruits and vegetables, not only those in the markets, in the public markets that we are definitely used to, we have people who have added more value to it by packaging, packing, and of course exporting these particular fruits and vegetables to the other countries out of Uganda. So when you look at this situation, mainly some of the other challenges that most people really need to work on or follow on is regarding the issues to do with consignment. Now, the consignment issues at the Entebbe International Airport is something that greatly needs to be worked upon. And not only that, also to looking at streamlining the way these particular fresh fruits and vegetables are packed, not only the packaging, but also looking steadily at how the traders themselves benefit from the entire value chain. You get to realize some of the traders are either way farmers from the different localities, that is traders, if I'm to say, traders from Mukono, where I come from, that actually grow these fruits and vegetables. Then we've apparently got to see some of the others who are actually in the transportation chain. So every other person is attached to this entire discussion. Well, if you look at some of the consignments that have been happening throughout the entire East African region, the Kenyan government did have a consignment for their avocados with the Chinese government. These are some of the consignments, if I'm to break down for you some of the key issues that have been happening throughout the entire value chain of fresh fruits and vegetables here in East Africa, and looking at tapping into the available markets across the entire world. And that is what we are having here. Later on, we're going to be linking up with our reporter who's already in the field here to give us more of the feel of the other key discussions from the keynote speakers as we linked up when the entire event had already started. But of course, we need to just give you a brief summary of where the entire discussion and the conversations started to where it is actually heading to. And of course, the entire program will actually be heading out till 6 p.m. East African Standard Time. And of course, we've been having, if I'm to break down for you some of the key things that have actually been in here, there were remarks on export potential, as well as improved trade facilitation and information. And of course, there was also remarks of the recent and ongoing measures by the government and the ministry on the ongoing situations to clearly give room to at least show how Uganda is performing as well. And then also there have been remarks coming in from the airport handling and inspection processes that normally happen at the different checking points at the airport in Uganda. So these are some of the key issues that have been discussed today. So this is basically improving trade facilities and trade facilitation for fresh fruits and vegetables. So if you are a farmer and you're an exporter, you are a trader, basically in the fresh fruits and vegetable side, it is high time you actually stick to SMART24 TV, because after a 1 hour's break, we shall be giving you more of what is coming in from there. and clearly giving you more of what to expect at the end of it all, because the stakeholders are quite many. If you're to look at Uganda's, for example, those who are actually dealing in vegetables, exporting of vegetables, we've got some fresh fruits coming in from Western Uganda, we've got those that are actually coming in from Northern Uganda. So most of the regions in Uganda do support these particular fruits in one way or the other, or the fruits that we are actually exporting out, that we are actually trading, and of course the dealers are earning wholesomely well from this particular one. And of course we've also got some of the client feedback from the exporters, and we are also going to be getting a statement from the executive director, HortiFresh, one of the key organizers of this particular event, to take us through why we have it and what are they getting mainly from those who are engaging in fresh fruits and vegetables as well. Because if we are to improve the trade facilitation, what needs to be done? How are we going to achieve this particular cause? And are there markets available for our traders in the country? And what next should we work upon if we are to entirely change the entire scope and see things happening? Now, the recent and ongoing process simplification and infrastructure improvements to the support system, among those key things that are supposed to be discussed here, and also improvements to support the exporters, among the other entire situations that we wish to at least have from this situation, to clearly see that everybody who's engaging in the trade of fresh fruits and vegetables, and the key word here is fresh. So it's supposed to be fruits that are ready from the garden and they're hitting the markets. But then how are they transported to the different markets? And of course, not only the local markets here, we're looking at markets across the East African Community region. We're looking at those who actually export via the airport. And those are some of the things that we clearly need to look at if we are to continue getting more of this one. Now, our reporter, Martha Nimsima, is coming live at the Kabira Country Club to give us more of the details as it's coming up from there. To briefly give us the key highlights of the entire day and what we should be expecting after the lunch break. Good afternoon, Martha. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon, Tsonko. How are you doing? We are live at Kabira Country Resort, where we are discussing issues about exportation of agro products. And here we are talking about the fresh fruit vegetables. And with me, I'm with Mr. Fred Zake, the Executive Director of HortiFresh Uganda, and he's going to tell us more about the event. Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Fred.
Good afternoon to you, and thanks so much for hosting us today. Good afternoon, viewers. HortiFresh Association Uganda Limited represents the fresh fruits and vegetables sector, which is one of the most lucrative, the most viable businesses one can do in Uganda today. We are working in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Trade, Export Promotion Board, and our development partners to boost the sector. As you know, it's one of the sectors where if you start production today, within 3 to 4 months you can start harvesting. It's one of the ways of increasing household incomes. It responds to the parish development model. And also it's a key ingredient for agro-processing, agro-industrialization. So today we are meeting because we are marking 1 year since the launch, official launch of the association, HortiFresh. And we are also discussing key issues like packaging, like branding. How can we aggressively market our exports? How can we increase the intake of fruits and vegetables locally? How can we add value? How can we create wealth and income for our people? So we have 120 members of HortiFresh working together with government and development partners to take this sector to a new level. So today has been about meeting and discussing strategies. We've just come up with our 5-year strategic plan to take this sector forward. Uganda is lagging behind Rwanda, lagging behind Kenya and Tanzania, and yet we are very well endowed as a country. The arable land, the climatic conditions, the soils, the rains, we should be doing better. The government has set a target of an extra $6 billion of exports, and horticulture as a sector, the government would like to see $1 billion per year of exports. And we are saying it can be done, but it needs to work together, partnership. It also takes a bit of time. It needs discipline. We need to make sure that the quantity of produce, the quality of produce, consistency, compliance, these are key themes that we are training our members so that we can export. So today is all about engaging with government. The Minister of Agriculture is coming here shortly. He's going to commemorate the anniversary. He's going to give us his marching orders. What does he expect the sector to do to boost exports? So this is what we are about today.
Help give the viewers a brief overview of the sustainable strategies you've put as HortiFresh for farmers out there.
Okay, so as an association, sustainability is key. So we are 100% financed by our members when they subscribe, but no association can survive just on subscriptions. So we are launching also a catalog of the sector, which we are going to sell. We are going to attract adverts. We are also engaging with strategic partners. Development partners are here, you've seen. We want to set up some common services like pack houses, like cold vans, cold chain storage. We can hire these at a subsidized fee, raise some revenue, which will help our sustainability. But as an association, our success depends also on our members being financially sustainable. So we are lobbying, we are working with government, the donors, private sector. We want the sector to receive heavy investment. We want affordable funding for agriculture. Our financial system needs to be tailored to support agribusiness. So if we do this, then our members will make profits, they will recruit more people, which will address the issue of unemployment. There will be more exports, foreign earnings. All these, when we grow the sector, Tanzania and Kenya, they export 4 times as much as Uganda. And yet, in terms of production, fresh fruits and vegetables, Uganda is in Africa, is second only to Nigeria. So we produce a lot of it, because of post-harvest losses, is lost. And the rest is also sold cheaply. Our farmers are not making enough money. So we want to make end-to-end investments and collaborative arrangements which can uplift the quality, the volume, the consistency. Then we can export to regional markets, DRC. You hear the president talk about exports. So as HortiFresh, we are positioned well to support the government agenda for exports, job creation for our youth. And we call upon the media to spread the gospel that this is a key sector that needs to be supported. We appreciate the partnership that we have. And we are working also with the other partners. We are talking to the universities so that we link the academia with the production, with the industry. We are talking to KCCA. KCCA runs markets. These days we hear a lot about markets. We have a discussion with them to improve cold chain, to include food safety. When you eat fresh fruits and vegetables, you need to know that it's healthy, it's good for your health. So it's a journey we are embarking on. It's a journey we are marking 1 year. There's a lot to be done. And we want to partner with you so that we can take the sector forward.
It will be a pleasure to partner with media as we are trying to make the farming sector a better version of our country. So Mr. Fred, another question I have is, as we're looking forward to have the minister here, what potholes have you seen in the agricultural sector that should be rectified in the process of making Uganda a better place?
So, first of all, we appreciate what the government is doing and the effort they are putting in, but we have some requests. For example, Uganda Air Cargo should have a cargo plane that goes to Europe. We were in London recently. They are looking for fresh fruits and vegetables. We are tired of relying on, let's say, Kenya Airways, Ethiopian Airways. Those with their competitors, they have their own produce. Why should our Ugandan fruits first go to Addis Ababa on their way to London? We want a direct flight. That will help us to increase earnings. We also want government investment in cold chain at the airport. When goods are exiting, they need the temperatures that are stable, that are cold, recommended, to enhance, to make sure that they don't lose value. We also want the government to invest in irrigation systems, to support companies to invest in pack houses. There's heavy investment required. It's not a business you just go in and you use ordinary trucks. So if the government could lower the cost of some of the heavy infrastructure needed by our farmers, that would be very useful. We also need the government to support the associations. In Tanzania, our competitor, they have an association called Tanzania Horticulture Association. Very big.
supported by the government, and it is helping to partner with government to support the sector. So in Uganda, the private sector in horticulture, the associations, they also need to be supported so that they can do self-regulation, train members, train farmers. We also need to work together to develop the brand of our fresh fruits and vegetables. The tourism sector has done it very well, Uganda as a destination. But what do we have as fresh fruits and vegetables from the Pearl of Africa? This requires some heavy investment, some publicity. When the president is traveling, when the ministers are traveling, let us work together jointly. We also want the government to support the establishment of a low-cost credit facility for the sector. Our members cannot get affordable funding from the banks. Access to finance is a key issue. Governments the world over have a duty to partner with the private sector to lower the cost of capital. That way our people can invest. We have people that have got orders to export. They need to invest in building the out-to-grower schemes, in the cold chain infrastructure. You don't transport fruits and vegetables the way you transport bricks. So all this heavy investment requires a partnership. And the government has done some work, but it's a long way to go. Parish development model, we need to be part and parcel. Let us work together. Operation wealth creation, let us partner, because fruits and vegetables is the low-hanging fruit.
So we look forward to having more of these conversations on this occasion, as Mr. Fred has suggested, that Uganda is looking forward to invest more in agriculture. I'm Martha Nimsima, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you so much, our
Martha Nimsema for that particular one, and thank you very much for giving us more of the updates coming in there in regards to fresh fruits and vegetables at Kabira Country Club. Well, pretty much as we are to look at this, and most of the stakeholders are still seeking for government intervention to ensure that everything goes well as planned. So according to Zake, they are working with other partners and also working with the academia, like the universities, and also government bodies like KCCA, to dig into the sector and the media. So that and more is what we're going to be giving you, all the updates and the entire organizational discussions that will be taking place after their lunch break till 6 p.m. So stick around to SMART24 TV. We shall be taking you back to Kabira Country Club in the next 30 minutes.